Chapter 4. Her dream is reality. The remaining days before summer vacation came and went in the blink of an eye. Once the end of semester assembly was over, we returned to the classroom to pick up our report cards. Then we're free to go by lunchtime. About half of my classmates quickly filed out of the classroom to go home or to their respective club meetings. The other half remained, comparing report cards as they made plans and gushed excitedly about all the fun things they were going to do over summer vacation. Beach, barbecue, fireworks, all the usual suspects. As for me, however, I sort of just sat there in a wistful daze for a while, watching the action play out from the sidelines. When I considered that this could very well be the last time I sat in classroom 2A, I got surprisingly emotional, and I couldn't bring myself to rise up from my desk. As I scanned the room, my eyes happened to land on Koharu's old friend group. The Haneda girl had taken over as the leader of the pack, and they all seemed to be chatting it up as blithely as ever. Meanwhile, Koharu, who used to be right there in the center of them all, was far off in a different corner of the room, meekly packing her things as she could go home, so she could go home. Yet, to my surprise, instead of heading straight for the classroom door, she walked over to speak with Anzu, who was also getting ready to leave. They then pulled out their cell phones and had a brief exchange before smiling pleasantly at one another and filing out of the classroom. I could only assume they'd traded contact info. Seeing their departure as my own cue to leave, I finally scooted my chair back to stand up. But I didn't get that far before Shohei called out to me from behind. "Hey, Kaoru, you got plans this afternoon?" "No, not really. Why? What's up?" "Me and some of the guys from Calligraphy Club were gonna go grab a bite to eat. You wanna come with?" Just as I was about to politely turn him down, I stopped myself. There was a very good chance that this would be the last time I ever saw Shohei as well. In that sense, maybe it would be a good idea to take him up on this offer and hang out with him one last time, just in case. Then I thought about it some more and realized that it wasn't a good idea anyway. I wasn't a part of the calligraphy club, so an outsider tagging along would just make everyone else feel less comfortable letting loose. "Sorry man, think I'll have to pass." "Wow, you actually waited 5 seconds before answering this time. You were seriously considering it, weren't you?" Shohei teased. Damn, he was sharp. "Come on dude, no need to be shy. The other guys won't bite, I promise, they're pretty chill." "Nah, I really shouldn't. I'm broke as a joke right now." "Well, I don't mind buying for you on account of you being the newcomer to the party." "Thanks, but I wouldn't feel right about that. Don't worry about me, you guys go have fun. I'll see you around, man," I said, putting an end to the conversation as I stood up to walk away. "Come on dude, don't be like that," said Shohei, grabbing me by the arm. I could almost feel a question mark pop up over my head. He was being surprisingly persistent today. "You're way too young to be such a grumpy old hermit. These are the best years of your life, bro. You gotta go out and enjoy them while you still can." "There's no guarantee I'd enjoy myself." "Well, sometimes just putting yourself out there is important too." "What is this? The elementary school marathon? I'm not looking for a goddamn participation trophy, man," I snapped. Then, realizing I was getting worked up for no reason, I cleared my throat and tried to calm down a bit. "Look, I appreciate the free counseling session, but I really don't need the advice. I'm not looking to reinvent myself, man. I'm just trying to maintain the status quo." "Oh yeah? Then how come you've been missing class so much lately?" Now that gave me pause. I hated making people worry about me, and Shohei had never been so obviously concerned. I felt truly bad having to dissemble and shrug off his good intentions. But I couldn't tell him the truth. The Urashima tunnel was a secret between me and Anzu. not to be shared with anyone else. Telling Shohei would mean betraying that minimal mutual trust. So, I chose to swallow my discomfort and keep quiet. If you don't want to tell me, that's fine. I'll say this at least, Shohei began, leaning in close as though he was about to grab me by the collar. Unless you want to waste your whole life away, you've really got to learn to step outside your comfort zone, dude. Stop obsessing over what you have to lose and start thinking about what you have to gain. Just my 2 cents. I'm not obsessed, I said, gently pushing him away. Besides, nothing's ever lost forever. There's always a way to get it back. Shohei looked utterly perplexed by this response. Like he couldn't begin to comprehend the words coming out of my mouth, I decided to take my leave before he had a chance to ask me what I meant. Well, see you in this September, I said on my way out. Shohei let out a sigh of resignation. Yeah, don't flake on me next semester, dude. It was the first day of summer vacation, and I was waiting for Anzu outside the Urashima tunnel once again. It was another scorcher of a day, hot enough to make someone go insane, but thankfully this time, she showed up at 1 PM on the dot, just like we agreed. Oh, hey Brooke, and hey Ichiro. I'll be focused on reading this stream, so I might not be responding as much. But if you have a question for me or something relevant to the story, then I'll probably respond. But otherwise, I'll be focused on reading tonight. But I hope you guys are doing well. Sorry to keep you waiting, she said as she descended the stairs, and I waved to greet her. She was wearing long sleeves and pants despite the searing heat, and had a wide-brimmed sun hat on for good measure. Though in all fairness, she was certainly well dressed for the occasion, considering our objective today was not to explore the tunnel itself, but the mountainous woodlands all around it. The idea was that every tunnel had both an entrance and an exit. So unless the Urashima Tunnel moniker was a massive troll, we should hypothetically be able to find where it boomed out where it bottomed out. Somewhere on the other side of the imposing hill it ran beneath. That was our main goal for the day. Are our hands okay? Do my hands look worrying to you, Helen? Halen. Looks fairly red. I want to say that's the lighting. Oh no, it looks pretty red. But it's not. No, it doesn't look red. It looks a lot more red on stream. But it's very pale to me. I think it's just the lighting and the contrast. Now they look yellow. Oh, that's because there's a yellow light over there. I see. Look, I turn on the yellow light. There's a yellow light. There's a cool light. And then there's a neutral light. And I use the neutral one. But the other light I have that's in the room is yellow. So if I were to turn off this light, it's just yellow light. I was making sure. Well, appreciate it. Alright, again, I won't be responding to chat as much today. Unless you have a question for me or something about the story. Alright. Thanks for your alert, bro. You really think we'll find it though? I wondered out loud. I mean, it's gonna be pretty tough to scour this entire mountainside. If we can't find it, we'll dig a new tunnel straight into it from the side. Boom. Free shortcut. Wait, huh? I'm kidding. Whoa, Hanashiro making a joke, never thought I'd see the day. Obviously, I never suggest something that reckless, she clarified. I mean, what if it caved in and we got trapped inside? Not that I wouldn't consider it as a last resort if the investigation proves too difficult down the line, I guess, but for now, trying to find another exit is our best bet from the standpoint of both time and effort. Hey, Kine. Hello. How would we even do that anyway? Rent an excavator or something? Potentially, how much do you think that would run us? Fade ignored. I genuinely could not tell you. That's my answer. Even if we did manage to rent one now, how the hell would we transport all the way out to the tunnel? Maybe we should nip this idea in the bud and get down to business. So, how are we doing this, then, I ask. I think for starters we should do a full loop around the circumference of the mountain. I think you're probably a more seasoned hiker than I am, so why don't you take the lead, big guy? Sure thing, City Slicker. I'd be happy to show you the ropes, come on. With that, we made our way to the unmarked trailhead. We called off the investigation after a mere 2 short hours. Reason being, we'd underestimated the mountain and underestimated its might. We had figured that since it wasn't particularly densely wooded, we'd be able to tackle it without too much trouble. But that had been a major miscalculation on our part. However, the biggest reason for our ultimate failure was that we didn't have a clear-cut destination in mind. If we were just going from point A to point B, that would be one thing, but since we were looking for something in particular with no clue as to where it might be, it meant we had to go over every patch of the hillside with a fine-tooth comb to make sure we didn't accidentally overlook it, which was straight up exhausting. At first, it felt like a fun challenge, like we were hiking to a pleasant picnic at a scenic viewpoint. However, after one too many spiderwebs to the face and one too many close calls tripping over giant roots, the conversations died off and in the end we got stranded. We even lost track of the way from which we'd come. By the time we finally made it back to the entrance of the Urashima tunnel, we both looked like we just crawled out of a horror movie. Oh, well, that's kind of awkward. I think my neighbors or something are having a fight across the street. I just heard some screaming. Or arguing. Monka W. Oh. Alright. Where were we? Here. Well, so much for that idea. Sorry. Anzu apologized as she peeled yet another spiderweb from her hair. Nah, I should have known better too. Honestly, I feel like we should call it a day after this, even if it's only 3 in the afternoon. Yeah, agreed. I need a shower ASAP. Thus, we made our way back up to the stairs. To the railroad tracks, both of us more than ready to head home. Just then, I had a horrifying realization. I reached down and patted a pocket of my jeans, but I found nothing. I frantically reached my hand inside, but alas, it was completely empty. What's wrong? Asked Anzu. I think I must have dropped my house key somewhere. Uh-oh, are you gonna be alright without it? Yeah, I got a spare back at the house. But I'll be locked on until my dad gets home, so I guess now I gotta find a way to kill a few hours. Thankfully, he usually didn't come home nearly as late when he went to work on his day off, so I'd hopefully only have to wait until about 8 PM or so to be let back in the house. Not that there were any guarantees. Well, in that case, Anzu blurted out, her voice squeaking anxiously. Her face was bright red, and something told me it wasn't from all the sun we'd gotten today. Then after an excruciating pause, she offered her suggestion in a softer, more timid voice. Do you want to come over to my place? The condominium where Anzu lived was relatively close to downtown. After passing through the auto-locking entry door, we made our way to the impeccably sanitized inner hallway. While I never mentioned this out loud, it was clearly several tiers more luxurious than Koharu's housing complex. Eventually, we came to a stop outside a door, which I assumed to be Anzu's unit. But then I noticed that the name on the door wasn't Hanashiro. Then I realized what she told me the day she beat up that senior punk. Anzu had no parents. I was very glad to have remembered this minor detail before I asked about it. She unlocked the door and I followed her into the entryway where we bumped into an older woman, probably in her early 50s. Her pepper gray hair was tied in a bun and a couple of reusable shopping bags hung from her arms. It seemed we barged in just as she was getting ready to go shopping. Anzu stopped to greet her, a bit in a rather formal way for someone she was supposedly living with. I kept that thought to myself and simply bowed my head along with her. "Is this a friend of yours, Anzu?" the older woman asked, looking at me with what appeared to be a genuine surprise on her face. Then, as if remembering a prior commitment, she gasped, bringing one hand up to cover her mouth. "Oh goodness, where are my manners? Let me pour you some tea before I go." "Don't mind us," said Anzu, shaking her head. "By all means, go run your errands." "Are you sure?" "Well, alright then." The woman squeezed past us and headed out the door. "This way," said Anzu, beckoning me farther in. She stepped up into the hallway and I followed after her. "That was my aunt, by the way," she explained before I had a chance to ask. "Her husband passed away 2 years ago and her daughter's living on her own now too. That's why it's just me and her at present." So if you're wondering why I was being so formal with her, it's because we don't talk an awful lot. We're less like family and more like roommates. Huh, interesting living situation, I guess. "You go on in." Anzu opened the door at the end of the hall and gestured me inside. "I'll be right back." She trotted off into another room, her footsteps beating in a pleasant rhythm against the hard wood flooring. A few moments later, she returned with a rolled up washcloth and a drinking glass. "Okay, here's some iced tea and a wet towel." "Hey, thanks. I'm going to take a quick shower. Feel free to wipe yourself down with that in the meantime." Anzu pressed a button on a little remote control to turn on the AC, then left me alone in the room once more. Unsure what to do, I sat on the floor and took a sip of my iced tea. Then I unraveled the wet washcloth and used it to wipe my face and neck as I looked around the room. Right off the bat, the main thing to stick out to me was the massive bookcase that nearly covered an entire wall. On its shelves were all manner of different books, ranging from classic literature to popular pulp manga, all neatly organized by publisher. It was a perfect display of Anzu's detailed-oriented personality. The next thing I happened to notice was her writing desk, which was the only part of the otherwise immaculate room that was remarkably untidy. Books were stacked atop it in uneven piles, and eraser dust was strewn all across the surface. Other than those two details, however, it was about as Spartan and unspectacular as Koharu's bedroom has been. I had to wonder if they were exceptions to the norm, or if my lack of personal experience had merely given me some bizarre notions as to what a teenage girl's room should look like. Glug, glug, glug. After finishing my initial survey of the room and fully wiping myself off, I was officially bored. That was a bit of a problem because it felt pretty flustering being alone in a girl's room with nothing to do. As a guy who never really had any female friends, even sitting there absent-mindedly was a challenge because my mind kept getting distracted by the vaguely sweet feminine fragrance that seemed to only exist in girls' bedrooms. Thinking I might read a volume of manga or something to keep myself occupied, I got up and walked to the bookcase. Surely, Anzu wouldn't object to me pulling one out to entertain myself, would she? Luckily, she happened to have a copy of a particular manga I've been meaning to check out, so I went ahead and pulled it out from the stacks. It was then that I noticed an envelope wedged between the top of the manga volumes and the bottom of the next shelf up, almost like it had been hidden away. Curious, I reached to pull it out. Printed on the corner of the front of the envelope was an official company name and logo, Utosha Publishing Co. Corporation. The seal had been broken, but obviously I wasn't about to go rifling through someone else's mail. Just as I was about to slip it suddenly back into place, my hand froze. Wait a minute. Isn't Utosha like A pretty major book company? Then, all of a sudden, the image of Anzu on the ground, desperately gathering those pages of drawings, flashed back into my head. Could it be? My better judgment tried as hard as it could to quell my rabid curiosity, but in the end, the latter came out on top. With trembling hands, I gently pulled the letter from the envelope and had a look. Well, holy crap. I heard the doorknob twist as Anzu let herself back into the room. Sorry that took so long. Wait, are you reading my... Oh, yeah, my bad. I was getting pretty bored, so I kinda helped myself. I was sitting on the floor with the back against her bed, leafing through one of her many volumes of manga. Should I have asked first? No, you're fine. In her lacy camisole and matching lounge shorts, Anzu was showing a lot more skin than I'd ever seen on her, to the point that being in the same room was making my heart race. When she walked over and sat right beside me, it only worsened my nervous tension. I set the manga I'd been reading on the low table and I tried to start a conversation in a feeble attempt to keep things from getting weird. Boy, you sure read a lot of manga, don't you? Yep, I sure do. Does that surprise you? Maybe a little. Yeah, I mean, I've only ever seen you read normal books at school. Wow, you must pay a lot of attention to me. Yeah, well, you're the only one who refuses to blend in like a good little conformist. Not my fault you stand out. Bess got a good laugh out of her, which did help me loosen up a bit. We went on to make casual small talk for quite some time, gushing about our favorite movies, books, foods, and so on. We whiled away the warm, sleepy hours of the late afternoon, each passing minute feeling lazier than the last, as time trickled by like honey, slow and sweet. To be honest with you, I actually do still have parents, she suddenly confessed not long after we finished talking about our most nostalgic childhood video games. I mean, it wasn't a lie in the sense that they're not a part of my life anymore, but I still feel bad for misleading you. Truth is, my mother and father are both still living in Tokyo. They were always extremely strict. Though, and I guess a rebellious daughter like me was too much for them to handle. So they tossed me overboard in the hopes that living with my aunt on this deserted island for a while would make me change my ways. You do realize we're still connected to the mainland here, right? It was a metaphor, don't think too hard about it. I could only laugh and shake my head. Kozaki wasn't even that remote, all things considered, but whatever. I always hated my parents, she went on, the way they treated me like I was mentally deranged for wanting to pursue my dreams and make a name for myself, just because it wasn't a stable career path like the boring, worthless ones they decided to waste their entire lives on. I'll never forgive them for that. But you know what's really sad? When they told me they were sending me away to live in Kozaki, I took it way harder than I expected. Like, there was still some lingering affection there I couldn't shake. No matter how much I told myself I hated their guts, I'm such a stupid brat. Anzu shook her head in self-reproach. Well, anyway, yeah. So as you can imagine, I was still pretty torn up about the whole situation by the time I got here. Felt like I was kinda at the end of my rope, and it made me act a lot more reckless than I should have. I mean, I've been in my fair share of fights before, but I never had a guy slap me across the face, then start kicking me in the stomach before. To be honest, I was about ready to break down and cry before you and your friend showed up. Do you remember what you said to me back then? When I told you I didn't have any parents? Yeah, lucky you, right? You got it. The words fell right out of your mouth, no sympathy or spite to them whatsoever. When I heard that, I was like, dang, this guy must have been through a lot. He's way farther along in life than I am. So that's the real reason I followed you to the tunnel after school. By the way, how do you know what would ever happen to a person to make them say such a thing like it was nothing at all? Huh, never would have guessed. I know it's probably a really inconsiderate thing to say, but I kind of look up to you for that. For all the stuff you've been through, I mean, some people go their whole lives without developing that kind of character depth. It's what makes you so interesting, Tono-kun. That's why I can't help but gravitate towards you. Man, this is mad cringe. Dang, Tono. Your character development is so much more developed than everyone else in the world. Poggers. That's cool though. But like, I can't imagine people having this kind of conversation IRL. But it's cute. I felt a gentle weight as Anzu leaned her exposed shoulder. Okay, it's getting hot in here. As Anzu leaned her exposed shoulder against my upper arm. The fragrance of her freshly shampooed hair drifted into my nostrils and sent my synapses running wild. Oh god. I don't know if I want to read this next part. Hey, look at me. I slowly twisted my head to the side and met Anzu's upturned gaze, flushed cheek, shimmering eyes, glossed lips. Her larynx bobbing ever so slightly as she gulped down the very last of her inhibitions. Tonokun, I think I... Hey, Hanashiro, I interrupted, cutting mercilessly into her unfinished thought like a butcher's knife through a squirming fish. Yeah, what is it? She asked, clearly miffed that I ruined that moment. Then, without missing a beat, I blurted out, "Are you writing your own manga?" Yo, this... Dang, the main character did not want any of that happening. Her description? Yo, I got shook. Can't wait for me to experience this IRL wink wong. For a moment, it looked like Anzu couldn't process what I'd said. She looked so puzzled that I began to worry that maybe I'd gotten the wrong idea entirely. Those concerns quickly proved to be unwarranted. Wait, how do you... Huh? Anzu sputtered, her entire body trembling as her mouth opened and closed repeatedly like a goldfish. Her flushed face turned even brighter red and her eyes shot open so wide I thought they might pop right out of their sockets. Her face became a jumbled mess of potent emotions, one part confusion, one part embarrassment, and one part disbelief. You mean the time traveling in the top? Yeah, totally, Fade. Totally. Yeah, not what we just read here. Yep, Fade. Monka W. How? She pleaded, desperate for an explanation. When I went to borrow a volume of manga from the bookcase, I noticed an envelope sticking out. Wondered what it was, so I peeked inside and saw some sort of manga evaluation sheet. You know, like the type you get when you submit an original work to a publishing contest. Anzu let a terrifying grunt and pounced on me, grabbing me by the collar. Given that she was already leaning against me, there was no room to shake her off. And so I fell backward, onto the floor beneath her weight. How could you invade my privacy? She was now straddling me from above, slamming the back of my head into the hardwood floor as she shook me by the shoulders. The force from the impact jostled one of the straps of her camisole from her shoulder, exposing a I hate this book. Exposing a portion of her bra. I averted my eyes in panic. I got curious, that's all, I answered sheepishly. You can't go digging through other people's mail. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry, but seriously, it's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm not ashamed, I'm livid. Yikes, I knew she'd be pissed, but not this pissed. I had to run damage control stat. No, really, I think it's super cool, especially since it looks like you got pretty high marks too, and based on the little summary blurb, it sounds right up my alley. I'd love to read it someday. What? All of a sudden, the shaking stopped, and Anzu let go of my shoulders. I slid out from underneath her, then pushed myself up so that I was sitting directly across from her. I noticed your desk is covered in erasure shavings. Are you still working on things? Do you have anything finished you could show me? What? No, none of my stuff is good enough to show other people, Anzu mumbled. Her previous indignation crumbling into bashfulness at the drop of a hat. It was kind of cute, actually. If you're entering your work in contest, I assume you want to be a manga artist. Don't you? In that case, you're definitely going to want to get feedback from other people. Come on, please. I promise I'll give you my honest impressions. It's so embarrassing, though. I had her on the ropes. One more push out to do it. Yo, this is basically me doing pixel art on stream. I feel like it's very embarrassing to do like the early parts of pixel art on stream because it's kind of... It looks horrible. And until I finally get something that I'm satisfied with, like the line art done, I guess, then I'll probably like start shading and do all like the boring dull stuff on stream. Oh wait, I didn't read this. Please, I'm begging you, I want to be able to say I read Anzu Hanashiro's breakout hit before she was famous. Hell, I'd pay you for the privilege of reading it. I couldn't tell if that sound meant that Anzu was flattered, conflicted, or annoyed, but regardless, she crawled on all fours over to her writing desk and pulled a stack of papers out from one of her drawers. She then duck-walked back over to where I was sitting and held them out to me with both hands as though they were some sort of certificate or diploma. Here, she said. This is my newest one. I just finished drawing it. You can read it if you really want to, I guess. You sure you don't mind? Just don't go in expecting too much. I can't tell you right now it's gonna seem really amateur compared to all the big name professional stuff you probably read. Well, I'm stoked to check it out regardless. Thanks. I reached out and accepted it delicately with both hands, trying to show her manuscript an equal level of respect. Right off the bat, the cover art was extremely eye-catching and impressive. You could have told me it was being sold in stores and I wouldn't have batted an eye. I knew you should never judge a book by the cover alone, but it certainly gave me high hopes that the contents would be good enough to match. Eager with anticipation, I turned to the front page. Silence fell over the room. The total lack of any other sound made the whirring white noise of the AC unit feel much louder than it actually was. The entire time I was reading, Anzu looked extremely on edge. She was constantly fiddling with her hair, adjusting her seating posture, and being generally restless all around. Amused by this new and adorable side of the invulnerable girl I thought I knew, I stole furtive glances at her every time I turned a page until she got mad at me and told me to focus on the story. I apologized in earnest and did as I was told from that point on. No more than 5 minutes later, I was finished reading the manga. If I had to give a genre, I'd file it under sci-fi. It was a story of a lone girl in a post-apocalyptic world who went on a journey across the land searching for other survivors. Oh, that was a long read. Our long passage. Well, what do you think? Anzu asked gingerly. Trepidation plain to hear in her voice. She was sitting upright on her knees in formal sitting posture. As promised, I gave her my honest review. I thought it was really great, I exclaimed, holding up the manuscript in awe. I found the manuscript to be super likable and compelling, especially in the last scene, where you find out she's actually an android who thinks she's human. The way hits her so hard at first, but she gets back and continues her search for survivors regardless. That part really resonated with me. Oh yeah, and I also love how much foreshadowing you peppered in throughout to kind of hint at the fact she was an android all along. I didn't pick it up on all in my first pass, but now I really want to read it again to see what else I missed. It was definitely a real page turner, that's for sure. I loved every minute of it. You did? Anzu replied, her voice squeaky and ecstatic. Yeah, if you told me this was a one-off story in some major weekly manga magazine, I wouldn't bat an eye. It's really incredible, honestly. I had no idea you were such a talented artist, not to mention storyteller. And the fact that you're already putting yourself out there and entering your stuff in competitions and whatnot is pretty. Okay, this is how y'all in chat should be complimenting me. Not just saying, ayo. Not just calling me cute or adorable. That's cringe. You'd be complimenting me and simping for me like Tono right now, by the way. Sorry, could you give me a sec? Anzu interrupted. She stood straight up, then dove onto her bed and buried her face in her pillow. At first, I didn't know what to make of this, but then she started rapidly kicking her legs up and down and squealing with glee. Hanashiro? All I could hear was the sound of her muffled elation. I didn't know if she was trying to hide it or what, but I was glad to see that she was apparently quite pleased with my review. She went on kicking her legs like this at full speed for a good several seconds, too, until finally she stopped all at once as though her batteries had run out. She slowly twisted her body around, then sat upright and turned and tried to collect herself. Her bangs were plastered to her forehead and frizzy from a static. Well, by the way, I think we're going to read 10 more pages? Or 20 more pages? 15 more pages? I don't know how many pages we're reading. So I'm supposed to read 37, I think, right? So that means we're reading 17 15 more pages right now. Oh. So we're basically halfway. Well, I think that's enough happiness for the next 5 years, she said. Haha. I guess it was a good thing you let me take a look after all. If you ever got more stuff you want me to proofread for you, just say the word. I think it's definitely a good idea to get feedback after aiming to do this for a living someday. I mean, I'm not actually trying to be professional or anything. I don't put in nearly enough work to ever make it big. I just submit my stuff to competition sometimes for the hell of it, and because I like the feedback. Huh? Really? That's a shame. I think your work is pretty damn good already. No, it's not, Anzu mumbled shyly, turning to look away from me. She went crimson from ear to ear all over again. I waited for her to regain her composure, then dove right into my next question. So hey, I was meaning to ask something. Ask you something. Yeah, what's that? All those papers we found at the Urashima tunnel before? Were those from previous manga you wrote? Anzu's eyes widened a bit, though only for a second before she straightened her posture and nodded affirmatively. Yeah, they were. All stuff that I wrote way back in elementary school. Uh-huh, so I was right, then. From the fleeting glimpse I got at the time, I had been fairly certain that they were manga pages. I just had no idea what significance they might have held for Anzu. Sorry about that, by the way, she said. I acted pretty selfish back there. It's cool, what's done is done. I would like to know what those pages meant to you, if you don't mind telling me. Anzu let out a sigh of resignation, then answered in a soft, meek voice. They're all my old stories that my parents threw away. Wait, they tossed your artwork in the trash? Yeah, when I was 10 years old. I got in trouble for drawing in the middle of class, and then my folks found out during my parent-teacher conferences. They told me to stop wasting my time on stuff that wouldn't help me amount to something in the real world. Then made me watch as they threw everything I'd drawn up to that point in the garbage. Ouch, that's pretty harsh. I poured so much time and effort into every one of those pages. I bawled my eyes out and got in a huge fight with my parents. From then on, I made a point of continuing to draw as much as I could out of spite, right where they could see me doing it. I never told anyone else about it, but I refused to give up on manga no matter what. Honestly, that was where all of my issues with them started, and what ultimately led them to cutting me loose and sending me here. Damn. This was pretty heavy stuff. Now I understood why Anzu had gone so feral, trying to clear those pages in a tunnel. I had to respect her determination though, continuing to draw manga because it was what she loved to do, even when her parents vehemently disapproved. I found that kind of passion to be quite noble. But I mean, if you really love making manga that much, I don't see why you felt the need to hide it from me in the first place, especially considering you're so good at it. That's because it means so much to me that I don't want to share with you. No? Is that how being an artist works? At least for me it is, Anzu said, biting her lip. There was a long pause and then she shifted gears. But why would my old manga show up inside the Urashima tunnel? You good, Mofu? What do you mean? Probably because you wanted it back, I assume. Huh? Did I want it back, though? Don't ask me. How should I know? To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure myself. Like, obviously I wasn't going to just leave my old manga there in the tunnel. But as for whether I'd been harboring some deep-seated desire to get back all these years, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. Really? Huh? I replied non-committally, leaning against the bed as I looked at the ceiling. Then, all of a sudden, I felt an epiphany coming on and I let out a tiny gasp. Anzu looked over at me mildly startled. Hell, I was pretty startled myself, to be honest. What's up? She asked. Oh, nothing, I lied. Don't worry about it. Meanwhile, my brain was roaring at light speed. There was something there, like a faint, glimmering light at the bottom of the fathomless void. Think, Kaoru. I knew it had to be something important. I felt like I finally gathered all the pieces I needed. I thought I found a bright way to connect them. Trying different combinations until something clicked. After racking my brain for a good while, I finally found a deduction I was groping for. Everything we found in Urashima Tunnel thus far had one thing in common. It was never things we found ourselves actively wishing for. It was only ever things from our past that, before I could finish that thought, what a cliffhanger, I heard the sound of the front door being unlocked in the hallway. Evidently, Anzu's aunt had returned from the shopping trip. I looked up to the wall clock and saw that it was 7 p.m. I decided it was best not to tell Anzu my new hypothesis just yet. For one thing, it was still unconfirmed and it would only make her go crazy with needless speculation. Well, I should be heading home, I said, standing. Oh, well, okay, said Anzu, slumping her shoulders. I need a stretch. Oh, my body is so sore. Okay. Don't make that face now, I feel bad. We should decide when we want to meet up at the tunnel again, though, I suggested. Any ideas as to what we should investigate next? No, I've been thinking about time to call off the investigations, actually. I mean, I can't think of anything else we really need to look into, she said. Then straightened her shoulders and looked me dead in the eye. No more test runs. I think we're finally ready for the real deal. Meaning? It's time to ban Mofu. You stop that, Mofu. It's time to get your sister back and make me someone extraordinary. We're gonna go in there and not come back out until we both had our wishes granted. I gulped down the saliva that had pooled in my mouth, so it was finally time then. Do you have a date in mind? Yep, I'm thinking August 2nd. Alright, sounds good to me. Why the 2nd specifically? No real reason, just thought it'd be smart to give ourselves a good several day buffer beforehand, that's all. She had a point. There were a lot of preparations we need to make, not just in terms of what we need to take with us in the tunnel, but also in terms of being prepared for what might happen when we come back out. We agreed to settle on the particulars via text later, and with that, Anzu walked me to the entryway where I slipped on my shoes and opened the front door to leave. Alright, guess I'll see you later, then. Hey, Tono-kun? Yeah? Anzu looked like she was mustering her courage to tell me something, but she faltered in the end. Sorry, it's nothing important. Get home safe, okay? Will do. See ya. As I turned to close the door behind me, I caught one last glimpse of Anzu's face. She looked just the slightest bit crestfallen, and a pang of guilt tugged at my heartstrings. The week before the day we planned to venture into the tunnel, I was spending the morning happily vegging out on my bedroom when I got a text from Anzu. Kawasaki invited me to go to the festival with her. Any interest? This time of the year, she could only be referring to the annual firework festival held in the next town over. It was the biggest local event, with people coming in droves from all over to see more than 6,000 individual fireworks lit in one gigantic spectacle of a show. I'd been there a few times myself back when Cotton was still alive, but I hadn't realized it was the day, though to be crystal clear, my interest in going was less than zero. I loathe big crowds. I began to type a reply to Anzu's message. I think I'm good, but thanks. All that remained was to hit send, yet my fingers froze in place. Two lingering doubts gave me pause. The first was based on the way Anzu had phrased it. Any interest? As opposed to something like, wanna come with? Maybe I was reading too much into it, but it almost made it sound like she wasn't all that interested in going if it was just her and Koharu, and would only accept the invite if I agreed to go as well. Knowing what Koharu had been through recently, I didn't have the heart to turn her down, especially when she was trying so hard to rebuild her social life from the ground up. This guy's a freaking detective, what the? The second reason I hesitated though, echoed the feeling I got when Shoei asked me to get lunch with him and the calligraphy club guys. This might be my last opportunity, so I shouldn't let it go to waste. Man, I don't know, I grumbled, rolling around restlessly on my bed. Then I heard the sound of the bathroom door opening downstairs. It was my father. I don't know why he was home on a weekday, but he was. Maybe it was to make up some prior holiday that fell on a weekend. Make up for some prior holiday that fell on a weekend, or maybe he'd use a day of paid time off. Either way, I didn't want to interact with him whatsoever. Guess that settles it. I deleted the message, I composed and typed a new one. Sure, I'd be down. Where and when do you guys want to meet up? I hit send before I had a chance to second guess it. There was nothing I hated more than having to deal with my father, so I figured I might as well go and at least try to have fun. Although in this case, I needed to get cleaned up so I could head out at a moment's notice. I went downstairs to the living room where I found my father seated on a floor cushion watching some mindless TV show. I took a deep breath before calling out to him. Hey, Dad? What's it called? I'm going out for a bit tonight. Oh, I see. How late do you think you'll be? I'll be home before midnight, don't worry. You gonna need dinner? Think I'll get something while I'm out and about. Fair enough, have fun. I nodded, then headed straight back to my bedroom. Holy crap. I couldn't believe I had an actual, civil conversation with my father without things immediately devolving into an argument. Well, come to think of it, he'd been in awfully good spirits the vast majority of the time lately. Usually he barely acknowledged my existence, but he had just asked me about dinner and even told me to have fun. He hadn't said anything remotely like that to me since before Kanan died. After our last stint in the Unoshima Tunnel, when I told him I'd be staying at a friend's house over the long weekend and come back a day late, he hadn't said a word in complaint. I tried to imagine what might have brought on this sudden change of heart. Maybe something good had happened to him at work. I thought about it for a moment, then shrugged it off. It wasn't worth overthinking. Ooh, okay, wait. Let me just double check. So, 185 to... Guys, don't look. It's gonna be spoilers. 255. Wait, 255 and 185. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just 70 pages. Yeah, just read 35. I guess I would probably stop after the festival. I like New Art looks cool. It's not really a new avatar. I was using this for callouts and anything, but hey, Mema. I mean, it is new. I still don't know if I'll make it as a permanent avatar. I don't know. The title of the book is in the title. The Tunnel to Summer, the Exit of Goodbyes, or Tunnel to Summer, Exit of Goodbyes. I'm trying to read quite a bit today, so, or I think it's just a few more pages now to end stream early. If you're interested in what it's about, you can search up real quick. And it's also going to be a movie, an anime movie, at the end of, in the fall this year, I think. I don't know. So I don't want to get spoiled, then probably best not to listen to this stream. Yeah. Just as the evening sky began to bleed from light orange to deep vermilion, I arrived at the bus stop where Anzu had suggested we meet. Usually, it was rare to see even a single senior citizen waiting around for the bus there. Take care, Mema. But since it was the night of the festival, there was actually a pretty long line of people at the stop, some of whom wore traditional summer yukata and jinbei. Anzu and Koharu weren't among them, which came as a surprise given that the shuttle was supposed to arrive in 5 minutes. Concerned, I began scanning the vicinity, when suddenly I felt a clap on my shoulder. I turned around and there she was, Anzu in a breezy periwinkle sundress. I'm back, that was quick. Hey, been waiting long, she asked. Nah, just got here myself. Cool, no sound Kawasaki yet? Nope, guess she might be running late. Oh wait. Just then I spotted her, coming down the opposite sidewalk, in traditional festival garb. As soon as she noticed us, she hurried towards us across the street via the crosswalk, her wooden sandals clacking against the pavement the whole way. She looked pretty cute in her soft pink yukata, which was embroidered with a goldfish pattern, but her face quickly twisted with disgust the moment she saw me. Ugh, what are you doing here, Tono? Wait, then how did she really not tell her I was coming? I invited him on to explain. Figured the more, the merrier. Oh, was that right? Well, if Anzu invited you, I guess it's fine. Anzu, I asked. She insisted on giving me a stupid nickname now that we're friends. Anzu explained, clearly not enthused by this development. Aha, so they were on a first name basis then, or at least one of them was, I smiled. Glad you see you two are getting along so well. I meant it too, however. Anzu evidently interpreted this as teasing sarcasm because she smacked me hard on the shoulder. Not long after the bus arrived and the three of us climbed aboard, it was already pretty packed, but we luckily managed to find 2 side-facing seats along the window for Anzu and Koharu, though I had to remain standing. The automatic door is closed. and the engine chugged to life as the bus set off towards its next destination. So how do you like my yukata? Koharu asked Anzu. What do you think? Tono-kun, Anzu asked, passing the ball to me. Gee, thanks a lot. I think it looks pretty good, honestly, I stammered. Then I'm inclined to agree, Anzu declared. You guys are totally dating, aren't you? Koharu glowered at me suspiciously. Neither Anzu nor I said a word in denial. The light changed, and the bus driver slammed on the brakes, causing me to lose my balance from a sudden change in momentum. I would have gone careening down the aisle if I hadn't quickly grabbed one of the overhead straps and regained my footing. Phew, that was a close call. Even so, Koharu gave me a look and shook her head with a disapproving sigh. God, what do you even see in this loser, Anzu? Why are you calling him a loser? I mean, no offense, but he's kind of a scrub. Not much of a personality, no real skills or sense of humor, and it's not like he's all that attractive. I don't talk about him like that. Anzu cut in, her tone cold and sharp like an ice pick. Alright, fine. Koharu winced, shifting her attention back to me. Then what was it about Anzu that first caught your eye, Tono? Wait, huh? I spat out, flummoxed. Oh yeah, I'm pretty curious about it too, said Anzu. Now that they were both looking up at me expectantly, I was officially cornered. I mean, it's pretty hard to put that sort of thing into words, you know? Plus you're kind of putting me on the spot here. What, you can't think of anything? Said Anzu, furrowing her eyebrows dejectedly. Damn it, now I really had to pull something out of my ass, or it'd only come back to bite me later. I racked my brain and tried to come up with the safest, least corny answer I could throw together on such short notice. Well, if I had to pick one thing, I guess it would be, Come on, pal, Koharu pressed. We don't have all day. Her scent? Maybe? Koharu's face twitched as she recoiled into defense mode, clutching her upper arms with both hands as though her stranger danger senses were ringing alarm bells in her head. Oh yeah, definitely could have chosen a better way of phrasing that. Ew, what? I asked what caught your eye, not your nose, you disgusting creep. Is that your rubric for a girl's attractiveness? Their smell? Great. Now I feel like I need a shower. Ugh. No. I frantically waved my hands back and forth. You got it all wrong, I swear. I don't go around sniffing random girls or anything, I promise. Even with Hanashiro, it was just a coincidence. Oh really? How does one coincidentally get a big old whiff of someone wise guy? Just what kind of fun little activities have the two of you been getting up to lately? I'll get your head out of the gutter. It's nothing like that. Come on, Hanashiro, throw me a bone here, I pleaded. Anzu wasn't paying attention. She was too busy sniffing her own arm with a pensive, worried look on her face. I have a scent, she muttered to herself. We hopped off the bus and strolled toward the festival grounds. It was dark at this point, but fortunately for our purpose, there wasn't a single cloud in the night sky. Perfect weather for a fireworks show. The fireworks themselves were going to be set off from the other side of the big river, whereas all of the spectators had to stay and watch from the side where all the food stands and whatnot were lined along the river walk. It was a short trek from the bus stop to the festival grounds, so we could hear the hustle and bustle of the crowd enjoying the festivities, even amidst all the loud exhaust noise from cars idling on the roadway. After crossing the street and walking a little ways, I caught a whiff of something cloyingly sweet, like Castilla sponge cake. So did the two of you have anything specific you wanted to do at the festival? I asked as we ambled down the sidewalk. Anzu shook her head. Yeah, me neither, said Anzu. Though I did want to go fishing for bouncy balls at some point before we leave. Oh yeah? Cute. I used to love doing that when I was like 5. Girl looked confused for a moment, and then her face went bright red. What? No, it's not for me, it's for my little brothers. They asked me to bring home one of those big squeezy ones with those spikes all over it. Oh yeah, I remember those things. I had one for a week before I got a big hole and deflated into a worthless plastic husk. Oh, that's nice of you, I said with a smile. You know, you seem like a surprisingly good big sister. What with the way you still play cards with them and whatnot? Hey, what do you mean surprisingly? Oh yeah, that reminds me, do you have any siblings, Anzu? Nope, I'm an only child. Wow, that's cool. I always want to be an only. I always wanted to be an only child. Really? I always kind of wish I had a little brother or sister, personally. Haha, no, trust me, they're nothing but a hassle, always pestering you to play with them or to be a chaperone whenever they want to go someplace. And oh god, don't get me started on having to take baths together. Wait, that's a thing? I found it kind of rewarding to see Anzu having a normal conversation with someone who wasn't me. It was hard to believe how sociable our scrappy rebel had become lately. I felt like a proud parent watching their eldest child go off to college as I followed the pair at a safe distance, not wanting to interrupt their lively discussion. As we got closer and closer to the center of the action, the crowds grew a fair bit denser. There was a lot more food stands in this area too, as evidenced by the savory scents of deep-fried fruit and yakisoba sauce hanging warmly in the air. Before long, I heard the sound of someone's stomach growling loudly. It was likely a sound effect straight out of a cartoon. Wow, excuse me, Kawasaki, Anzu said with a teasingly judgmental glance. Oh, no, don't lie, that was you, not me, said Koharu, placing her hands grumpily on her hips with a big harumph. Wow, then how she really tried gaslight Kawasaki? What is this, elementary school? Even from distance, I could tell that was really Anzu's stomach that had growled. If you're getting hungry, we can stop and grab food somewhere, Koharu offered. There's still plenty of time before the fireworks start. I checked my phone, it was now 7 p.m, and the show didn't start for another hour. We agreed to take our time perusing the different food options as we continued down the riverwalk. After passing several booths, Anzu stopped dead in her tracks in front of one, peering in their display of grilled squid with curiosity and awe. Whoa, not just like a whole squid grilled up and impaled on a stick? Yes, Hanashio, that's why they call it grilled squid on a stick. Oh wait, have you really never seen that before, I asked? She nodded. I mean, I've seen it on TV a few times, probably, but I've never really been to a fest or anything before. Blech. Nasty, I'm gonna ban you, oi. That's because you did well on Apex on one day, you did well. How many pages you got left, actually? Oh, that's a lot of pages. 10 more pages? It's not even 10 more pages. Sheesh. So what up, just checking some stuff? Alright. How do I do this? I think, technically I'm at the halfway point now, right? You know what? I'll just reach one. Wait, what time is it? Mofu, are you there? Mofu. Mofu. Where were we? Did we just flip the page? I think we did. Wow, no kidding. I suppose they probably didn't have too many traditional style festivals in Tokyo proper. Either that, or she never had anyone to take her to one growing up. Have you had one of them before, she asked. Do they taste good? Yeah, they're great. Why don't you get one and see for yourself? I'm tempted, but I've been really craving takoyaki too, she whined. Clearly torn. Well, why don't we get both then? Koharu chimed in. There's a takoyaki stand right over there. I'm getting pretty hungry myself, so I'd be happy to go wait in line for it. Really? Could you buy enough for both of us, then? Sure thing. Anzu handed her some cash and Koharu went click-clacking off in her wooden sandals to the takoyaki stand. Meanwhile, Anzu had placed her order for a grilled squid with the elderly man running the booth. When my nose picked up the tantalizing scent of Worcestershire sauce nearby, I started getting hungry too, and I remembered that yakisoba stand we passed on the way. Hey, I'm gonna go buy myself some yakisoba real quick. Okay, hey Kawasaki beat you here. We'll be waiting in the dining tent. Copy that. I spun around and walked back the way we'd come. Luckily, there wasn't a long line, so I managed to get in and out with my yakisoba pretty quickly. Grand total 400 yen. Then I got back. Anzu had vanished from in front of the grilled squid stand. So I took a peek inside the dining tent. where, sure enough, I found my true companion seated and digging in. I got there just in time to see Anzu sink her teeth into the squid for a big honking first bite. She seemed to really enjoy it. I looked around for a place for myself to sit, but the tent was a small, cramped space between two food stands, with only 3 two-seater benches for people to sit on, all of which were currently occupied. Resigning myself to eating while standing, I was about to take my first bite of yakisoba when Anzu stopped me. Hey, wait a minute. Kawasaki, could you scoot a little that way? Sure. How's this? Great. Thanks. Come have a seat, Tono-kun. Anzu patted the barely 30 centimeter space now open beside her. I thanked her for her thoughtfulness and sat. It wasn't exactly comfortable, but it beat standing, and for that, I was grateful. Though the fact that our shoulders constantly rub against each other did put me a little on edge. I opened the plastic takeout container that held my yakisoba and dug in with my chopsticks, slurping the thick noodles one by one. They were utterly drenched in sauce, which might have made them a bit too rich for some, but I loved it. Hey, Tono-kun. Anzu tapped me on the shoulder. I turned to look and saw that she was holding a piece of takoyaki on a toothpick toward me with a big old grin. Open wide. No thanks, I'm good. Koharu gave me an instant death glare from over Anzu's shoulders, as if to say, you eat that goddamn takoyaki right now or else. Fearing for my life, I caved to peer pressure and opened wide to let her shove the whole thing straight into my mouth. Oh god, I yelped with my mouth full. It's so hot. Hot, 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 hot. The girls burst out laughing. At least someone was having fun at the expense of my melting taste buds. I tried my best to roll it around inside my mouth like a hot potato as I suffered through each painful bite before finally gulping the molten ball of lava down my throat. It felt like my tongue was bleeding by the end. Sorry, I couldn't help myself, said Anzu, coming down from a massive giggle fit. But it was Kawasaki's idea for the record. Hey, most times would kill to have a pretty girl like you feeding them. Be sure to savor each and every bite now, Koharu snickered. I honestly couldn't savor much of anything given how flaming hot it had been, but I nodded submissively nonetheless. I proceeded to quietly work through about half of my yakisoba until eventually Anzu stood up and offered to go buy us drinks. Want to come with? Koharu offered. No, that's okay. If two of us leave, we risk losing our spot. I'll go by myself. You sure? Well, okay. I'll have a Cheerio Cola or any cola if they don't have that. I'll take a bottle of Lifeguard if they've got it, I added. Otherwise, I'll have the same thing as her. Got it. I'll be back in a bit. Anzu turned to walk out of the tent. Man, she's changed, Kara said when she was gone. For real, I nodded, actually agreeing with her for once. Hell, maybe for the first time in history. Though I'd say you changed just as much, if not more, I mean. You're like a totally different person now. Yeah, I know. Believe me, you're not the first to notice. Things sure have been different around here since Anzu showed up, Koharu mused affectionately. She wasn't wrong, though I still thought her personality shift was by far the biggest shakeup Anzu's school transfer had wrought. It remained to be seen whether Koharu would truly be happy with her new self in the long run, but at the very least she matured an awful lot in a considerably short amount of time. If it were me, I'd certainly prefer people think of me as a kind-hearted person rather than a terrifying one. I'm really grateful to her, you know. I hope that someday I can repay the favor. As I watched Koharu gaze up at the roof of the tent with reverent admiration in her eyes, my chest panged with melancholy, which I quickly attempted to shake off by diving headfirst into my remaining yakisoba. A moment later, Anzu returned to the tent and the three of us made casual small talk as we enjoyed our drinks together. Once we had a touch more room in our stomachs, we bought a piece of Castella sponge cake and split it 3 ways. We utterly forgotten about the upcoming fireworks until we heard the first shot go whistling into the sky outside. Bop, 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 bop. Honestly, I'll probably stop here. I'm actually tired from what I was reading. Holy moly. Whew. Next week I'll finish the chapter, and a week after that I'll probably finish the entire book. Do like a 4-hour stream on like 70 pages. And Mofo get wrecked. Oh crap, said Koharu. The whole riverside's probably gonna be packed by now. Probably packed by now. We better hurry. Finish the book now? I can't, there's no shot. Wait, how many pages are there? Just I only need to read 100 pages. At my pace right now? So what? I read like freaking 35 pages in an hour? If I just read 3 more hours and I'll finish it. No shot. Till I can. I think my voice will die. I mean, usually I would take a break, like in like between hours or like every good stopping point. But since it's gonna be, since I'm just focused on reading and it's gonna be, and I'll be stopping soon. I decided not to take a break in between. Are you tomorrow afternoon? I don't think I am. What's even happening? Oh, nothing's happening tomorrow afternoon. I mean, I'm free. I could stream tomorrow afternoon if I wanted to. If I do, it would just be drawing or Genshin dailies. It would just be drawing, to be honest. Cause Fade, I'm gonna try to draw you, like in the style that I have right now. It's gonna work. No one's gonna work on the loading screen. That loading screen is gone. But wait, gone. The loading screen is done, not gone. Me deleting everything. Yeah, I don't know if I'm streaming tomorrow afternoon. I think I'm just gonna. Honestly, I think I'm just gonna read like novels or web novels in my own time, or in my own time. Just reading in the afternoon, quietly, or secretly grind Apex so that I can always outclass Nasty. Okay, let me finish reading this and then I'll talk. Just these 2 chunks, big chunks, and I'm done. We crammed the rest of the sponge cake into our mouths and washed it down with our respective drinks. Then threw our garbage in the trash can on our way to the river. Just as Koharu had foretold, the embankment was heaving with people. It wasn't so packed that there wasn't room to stand, but the whole hillside was covered in blue tarps with families and friend groups sprawled out on top of them. We wove through the throngs of people searching for a place to sit down, until finally we managed to find a small open spot just large enough for 3. Koharu pulled her own checkered picnic tarp from her tote bag and spread it on the bare earth. It was clearly only designed to seat 2, but we easily managed to make it fit all 3 of us. After settling in, I looked at the night sky with anticipation, eager to finally see some fireworks. Before long, there came a thunderous boom, followed by reverberations so intense they could probably defibrillate a person's heart. I've never heard that kind of metaphor. What the? Yo, what was it? The vibrations were so intense it could probably bring someone back from cardiac arrest. That's very funny. Then came the crackle and the flash as the glittering trails of falling gunpowder painted a technicolor dreamscape across the night sky. The vivid starburst seared its triumphant shape into our retinas, then drooped lazily downwards before fizzling out into the darkness. Then came the next one, and next, each displaying new spectrums of color onto the jet black canvas. It's beautiful, I heard Anzu whisper beside me. Another rocket whistled into the sky, though this one was followed by a long pause before it finally exploded into shimmering vapor trails that wriggled out from the center like tiny fish swimming frantically upstream. The crowd oohed and awed as the golden branches came zigzagging down to form the shape of a weeping willow. Next came a gigantic flower, blooming brilliantly as it was joined by dozens of smaller supporting fireworks. This was succeeded by a wall of classic two-tone pennies. Pennies? Ponies? Their color changing pastels, zipping away like honeybees from the hive before falling limp and cascading like waterfalls. Next on the agenda, a bombardment of fast and frenetic star mines. Something soft rubbed against my right pinky. Anzu had slid my hand right next to mine. Normally this would have sent my heart racing and turned me into a nervous wreck, But in this moment, for whatever reason, all the right moves came naturally. I slid my palm over the tarp to take her hand in mine, and our fingers effortlessly intertwined. Though our hands were cold at first, an exchange of body heat helped us keep each other warm. Man, I feel so lonely right now. Then came the grand finale, as the biggest and boldest fireworks of all lit the night sky in striking colors, illuminating our faces in warm and ever-changing hues. It was a dreamlike vignette plucked straight out of a storybook ending.